Listeners, beware! You're in for a scare! Howdy, folks. Welcome to Nightmare on Fear Street, an R.L. Stine podcast, and I'm your host, Zach.
And I'm your other host, Meg.
And welcome to the show. Woo!
Woo!
Ooh, it's spooky. I think we told scary stories in the dark this week. Woo!
Yes, we did! We had a little campfire, and we all sat around it, and we told some spooky, scary stories in the dark.
Ooh, that's awkward. I was singing campfire songs. Oh, no. Did I get the wrong book?
You did, Zach. I'm sorry.
Guys. Oh, no. I'm so sorry. I guess the one about the killer bear that tells me to put out fires wasn't the real one?
Sea bears and unicorns are real.
Oh my god, Meg, you don't tell me about sea bears. I've been standing in the same circle for like 17 years. Help me.
What's the best way to attract a sea rhinoceros? The sound of a sea bear attacking.
Oh no. So Meg, how was your spooky week?
It was actually kind of shitty. I got in a car accident on Sunday. It was totally my fault because I was not, looking. I wasn't able to judge the speed that the traffic was going at, and I completely rear-ended somebody, and my car had to be towed. But luckily, everybody involved was fine. I did get a bit of a shock, and I am sort of, banned from driving until I am 25, which is, my birthday's in 4 months, and that is when I'm going to be old enough to have proper car insurance, and my parents don't want to have to pay for any more accidents.
Oh my gosh, Meg, I hope you're okay.
Yeah, no, everyone's fine. I just got a little shook up is all. And other than that, I've got a job coming up, and tonight I'm going to basketball training, which should be fun.
That's super rad. Oh my god, that's actually really cool. I hope you best for that new job.
I hope me best, too.
Hope you best, too.
How was your spooky week?
Well, I had a hodgepodge of a 3-day spooky weekend. On Friday, I got to go see The Room with the legendary filmmaker Tommy Wiseau, and it was one of the best.
Oh, hi, Zach. Did he say that to you?
Hi, Meg. You're tearing me apart. Yeah, okay, we'll get through all that. Cheep, 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 cheep. Oh my gosh, it was one of the most interesting nights of my life.
What was it like meeting the man himself? Did he take you onto his spaceship?
Well, I didn't get to go on the Tommy Wiseau. I got to meet Tommy Wiseau, and it was one of the more interesting people I've ever met.
I can imagine.
Yeah, no, I mean, for a man that hides his identity, he's really personable. So we get there, it's in LA, it's at the beautiful Egyptian Theater. I haven't been there since, gosh, I think the Angry Video Game Nerd movie premiere. And it's very beautiful theater. We get in at 6:30. We find our seats. It was me and my friend Paul and Trenton. And my friend Paul is the biggest Room fan. I was the one that showed them the movies. And he was the one that he took it out of proportions. Me and my friend Trenton sit down. We get our seats. Paul's like, I gotta go to the restroom. And he goes up. And literally 3 seconds later, in the corner of our eye, I see him just running down the stairs, almost falling down. And he's like, guys, Tommy Wiseau's here. You need to come here. Because we thought, he'd be doing an autograph signing and Q&A after the show. No, this is all before the show. So we get up top. It is a madhouse. He is there. He looks the same as he did 12 years ago. I think he's a vampire.
That's because he's a vampire. That's because he's 100% a vampire.
I believe that he's a vampire. And it's okay. Because the original concept for Johnny in The Room was he was a vampire.
Yeah, fun fact, he wrote that out because he thought that it would be too personal. It would make the film too personal to him.
And then he tried to sue for What We Do in the Shadows.
No, Zach, because that's a good movie. That's a good movie, Zach.
What are you talking about, Meg? The Room is the ultimate movie. It's the Citizen Kane of bad movies. So, he was, shaking everyone's hand, and he was being a very personable guy. Me and my friend Paul and Trenton, we all get to the front of the line. He does group photo with us. And the best way to explain this photo was the greatest thing ever, because I'm on the right, my friend Paul's on his left, and Tommy has to be the center, so he grabs my friend Trenton, physically manhandling this man.
Yes, I have seen this photo.
And, he's leading him down into, his crotchular region, And it's the funniest photo I've ever taken in my life. And he's like, oh, my friend turned, oh, he's scared little guy. And it is one of the greatest photos that I've ever taken in my life. Other than that, I got to ask him a very burning question, which I saw Patrick Warburton tweet, and it said that Tommy Wiseau would be directing an episode of Sears and Unfortunate Events Season 2. And Tommy Wiseau crushed my dreams because he didn't know what I was talking about.
Wow.
Wah, wah.
See, I saw that tweet too, and I thought that maybe Tommy Wiseau was going to have a cameo as one of, like, the shouting people in the crowd or something.
See, that would have been amazing. Or, like, if he directed the episode about the Urzak's elevator, it would have been, like, so perfect.
I would have given him, I would have given him the freak show. I would have given him the Carnivorous Carnival.
Oh, that would have been...
I think that would have been the best use of Tommy Wiseau's skills.
Are you sure not fashion? Because he is a fashion model and he owns a fashion company.
What? Is he?
Yeah, he owns a fashion... Dude, he has designer underwear.
Every time I have a conversation with anyone about Tommy Wiseau, I learn something new. He is an international man of mystery.
Yeah, he owns, like, a blue jeans company. And he has designer underwear that you can buy. And he has, like, a designer underwear commercial before the actual premiere for The Room.
I know what I'm getting my dad for Father's Day.
But, yeah, so he crushed my dreams, and then the whole screening was amazing. Like, spoons everywhere, people shouting,
Spoons
like, people
everywhere.
cheering. And it was the nicest thing in the whole world. You know, I
love it.
I was surprised how really nice Tommy Wiseau was. I heard stories, and really, I think that was the most fun I've had. He really participated with his audience.
That's really great when creators get involved like that.
I can't see, like, a person like Neil Breen, like, doing that. I feel like he has such an inflated ego, even though I like Neil Breen.
Yeah, Neil Breen's head is so far up his own ass that he could not condescend to come down and interact with us mere mortals.
So, Meg, who would win in a fight, Neil Breen or Tommy Wiseau?
I feel like Derek Savage would introduce himself as the new challenger and then beat both of them.
With his Van Halen guitar?
With his Van Halen guitar and also with some knives, because did you know that he has a self-defense DVD? Yeah, where you can learn knife protection, mace. Yeah, but like Tommy Wiseau, Neil Breen has conquered the mystic, but Tommy Wiseau has the raw power of a fighter.
That guy, he has, like, he is so mysterious. He could be like ex-KGB.
I love the theory that, I don't know if it's a serious conspiracy theory, but I hope to God that it is. They made a joke about it on XKCD, which is that, Tommy Wiseau is DB Cooper. And I wholeheartedly believe that.
Well, I would only believe that he's DB Cooper is if David Dakota comes out and says, yeah, he fought Bigfoot.
He might have. We can't prove it.
Other than that's actually a really scary story, Meg, but that wasn't the scariest story that we read this week. We actually read Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Ooh, scary.
Whoa. Yeah, so, this was like, you were a Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark version before this experience, weren't you, Zach?
Yeah, you see what I did is I actually put a V on me in lipstick, and then I asked all my friends to berate me while I was reading this book.
Is that a reference to something?
Yeah, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
We don't do that one here.
So if you're a Rocky Horror virgin, they put a V on you with lipstick, and the entire time people are berating you with horrible insults. It's entertainment.
We don't do that here. That is not a part of any of the Rocky Horror screenings that I've been to. I grew up, like, regardless of whether or not you actually read these books, I can guarantee you that most people listening to this podcast will have heard a couple of these stories at the very least.
Yeah, because they're really into the zeitgeist of both, I would imagine, just worldwide culture, not just American, camping culture.
It says on the cover, it's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, collected from folklore and retold by Alvin Schwartz. So these are all just like campfire tales that kids were already telling each other, that this guy just documented and added insane illustrations to.
Yeah, why don't we get into the illustrations first? Because literally this is the driving force. If it wasn't for this, I'm pretty sure this would be lost in history.
Yeah, this book would have been lost to history if it were not for the amazing artwork of Mr. Stephen Gammell.
Seeing how you're basically the art expert, Meg, I can't even explain art. Like, it's a cat. Wait, no, it's a duck.
That's art. It's subjective.
Yes. No, this art is not subjective. It just gave kids nightmares and they cried.
Yeah, but it's very, like, the thing about it is that unlike Tim Jacobus's work, which is very, like, straightforward in like, what it represents and what it is, these illustrations are a lot more abstract. So you have to, like, look at them a lot, and you sort of can't take your eyes away because there's so much there to draw your eye in. There's all these, like, scribbly lines, and he does, like, weird stuff with shading and light, and there's all these pops of really bright white and really dark black, and everything's kind of goopy looking, and I think he uses a combination of pencils and watercolor to get that sort of drippy, scraggly...
Like splatterpunk, almost. It's like... I think the best way to put it is it's like German expressionism meets like splatterpunk.
Yeah, but and it's so cool because every part of these, they kind of look like a lot of the, like, there's a lot of sort of like lightning-y shapes and veiny shapes going on.
Even though I had seen them before, is that they're very uncanny valley. There's something in your brain that just tells you these shapes are very human, but they're not human.
It sort of approaches realism, but in, like, a really, really janky sort of way. Especially, like, the ones like the red spot and the big toe and high beams. Those illustrations kind of look a little bit realistic, but they've got all that splishy, drippy, wonky stuff. And, like, the things just melt into the background. Like, I'll give you an example. I'm looking right now at the illustration of, the high beams, which is, the classic story of a woman driving down the road and the truck behind her is flashing the high beams, and it's because there's a serial killer in the backseat.
And you can actually see the serial killer if you really pay attention.
Yeah, you can see the shape of a head behind her, sort of. But it's so, like, it's just really, like washed out, sort of really bright lights and really dark shadows. So even though there's not a lot actually going on, you just see the woman, you see her hands, you see a bit of the steering wheel, and you see the truck headlights behind her.
I can see a skull in that. Like, from the headlights, you can kind of see a skull.
Well, it's like a Rorschach test. You look at it and you can see whatever you want in these shapes of ink, which is like, when you're a kid looking at these, it's like whatever is the scariest thing that you could drag up from the depths of your imagination. That's what you see in these pictures.
See, that's the greatest thing about, like, if we get more into the story and how there's just minimalist description through this entire collection of books.
They're very simple stories because they are meant to be told. It's not scary stories to read by yourself in the dark. It's scary stories to tell in the dark. So you're supposed to get this book. You're supposed to, like, take it out at a sleepover, get a bunch of your friends around in a circle, and you're supposed to read these out loud to them.
Like, after reading these, because for me, the first time I read these, as a 22-year-old, is I did something only a madman would do. And that is read these at midnight using a candle just to read. And it was...
That's really bad for your eyes, Zach.
My eyes are already bad. And,
yeah, but you don't want to make them more bad.
I want to be blind by the time I'm 60. Just so I can get Daredevil powers.
Daredevil was splashed with toxic waste, which is how he was blinded and also how he got his powers. That's probably not going to happen to everybody who turns 60, Zach.
Meg, what you're telling me is, so if I splash myself with toxic waste, I have a 50-50 chance of getting superpowers to becoming the Toxic Avenger.
Yes, absolutely.
I like those odds.
Go to a power plant right now and say, give me a bucket of your finest toxic waste, sir. I wish to obtain superpowers.
So, Meg, what was your favorite story from this?
I like Bloody Fingers. And, of course, the immortal classic Manhook Handcar Door.
Oh, yeah, I love that one. I was just laughing, because I'm thinking in my brain, I'm just thinking of the hash singing slasher.
I know, right? AKA Manhook Handcar Door.
What's the story of that one?
Oh, if you don't know the story of Manhook Handcar Door, what are you doing? What rock did you crawl out from under? But anyway,
nice one.
So, a boy and a girl go down to their local makeout point. They park their car at a secluded and well-known lover's lane. And they have the radio on, and the radio suddenly announces that there is a murderer that has escaped from the prison. And people are warned to be on guard, and that he is called the Hook Man because he lost his right hand in an accident and it was replaced with a rusty hook. The girl and the girl starts to get scared, and because they know that the prison is real close to this lover's lane. And the boy's like, it's fine, babe. We can just stay here and make out. And then she pulls away and starts insisting that they leave. And he is, upset because he's getting, he thought he was getting some, but he wasn't getting some. And so he finally decides, all right, fine, we're going to leave. And they drive away. And when they get home, they realize that there was a hook hanging on the car door.
Oh my God.
She was scared because the hook man was right outside their door the whole time. And man, hook hand, car door.
Man, I hope he gets his hook back. That must really suck.
I mean, he probably replaces it with another hook. Or perhaps
a spatula.
A rusty spatula. Oh, God damn it, you beat me to it.
I really like the illustration for the hook. It's really scary.
It's like a drippy, gross hook.
Yeah, there's like a really gross hook, and then there's like veins or like roots coming out of it.
Yeah. It looks like it's just been like pulled up out of the ground like a delicious hook-shaped potato.
Potato.
What's taters, huh? Shout out to everybody who remembers What's Taters. That was a great video. I'm gonna watch that as soon as this episode is done. Yeah. So, Zach, I also gotta say that my other favorite stories are The Viper and Bloody Fingers, because my friends used to say those ones, like, as a goof all the time. Especially Bloody Fingers. That was everyone's favorite, because it's very funny.
I think the ending of that is just me in a nutshell as someone with a sick sense of humor.
Yeah. So, if you haven't heard Bloody Fingers, the story of Bloody Fingers is basically that there's a haunted hotel room, and somebody tries to stay in there, and they go to the hotel, and the concierge says, I'm sorry, sir, all the rooms are booked up except for the haunted one. And he's like, fine, I'll take it. I don't believe in ghosts. And so he goes there, and then in the night, he sees a ghost walking towards his bed, and the ghost is saying, Bloody Fingers, Bloody Fingers! And he gets scared and he leaves, and then the next day, an old lady comes to stay in the hotel, and she says, oh, son, I've been through so much shit in my day, nothing scares me anymore. I'll take that haunted room. I don't even care. And so she stays in the room, and then the ghost approaches the bed and goes, Bloody Fingers, Bloody Fingers! And the woman gets so scared that she leaves, and the next day, a teenage boy with his guitar come to the hotel. And he's like, yeah, I need a room. And the guy's, all the rooms are all booked except for the one on the 13th floor that's haunted. And he's like, whatever, I'll take it. And so he's playing his guitar at night, and the ghost starts to creep towards his bed and go, Bloody Fingers, Bloody Fingers. And the guy turns and looks at him and says, stop whinging, go get a Band-Aid. That
is just me, like prime me. Like,
yeah.
That is such like a millennial thing to say.
I know, that's like the stupid millennial desire to be sarcastic at all times, even when your life is being threatened.
Oh, man, we should just write, Meg. We should just write scary stories to tell in the dark for millennials.
The phantom dick pic.
No, Meg, the student loan that ate you. Oh, that's too scary. Oh, no. What are some other ones? Oh, this place has no free Wi-Fi.
You actually have to talk to... It's one of those places that has a sign that's like, talk to people.
This is the 90s?
Yeah. And you walk in there and it actually becomes the 90s.
Oh my God, you walk in and you just hear Smells Like Teen Spirit, and I'll just be like, no.
Oh no. And you look down and your feet, you're wearing jelly sandals.
And a flannel, and you just... Your name automatically is Zach. Oh no, this is awful. And then Kurt Cobain comes out and does a jump scare.
Yes.
And that's the story.
That's the story.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, that's something. If you guys ever want to like propose this would be like the greatest thing. And all like the art would be like super 90s, like squiggle drawings and like skateboards.
Yeah, it's skateboards, and it all kind of looks a little bit like Beavis and Butthead.
Oh my God. That's actually really funny.
I also really liked the story Room for One More.
Which one's that one?
I had forgotten about that one. It's okay. I'll just give you the TLDR version.
Oh, is that the one about the elevator?
Yeah. Like, the hearse pulls up outside her building and says, "You want a lift? There's room for one more." And she says, "No, thanks. I'm fine." And when she goes on the elevator, the same guy's in the elevator. And he says, "You want to get in the elevator? There's room for one more." And she says, "I'll take the stairs." And when she gets up to the top of the building, she finds out that the elevator crashed right after she saw it, and everyone died.
Oh my gosh.
I like that one.
I think, for me, one of my favorite ones is, like, Mitai Dotai Walker. And
Ooh, yeah. Tell it about Mitai Doti Walker.
I love the drawing for this because it's just a severed head. Ooh. So the story is pretty much kind of like House on Haunted Hill. This rich guy's like, if you live in this house for a night, I'll give you $200 because I hear there's a ghost that's head falls out of the chimney. So this kid's like, okay, but can I take my dog? And the old man's like, okay. So the kid goes to this house and he starts a fire in the fireplace, and it's about midnight, and he hears in the wind, he hears something say, "Mitai Dotai Walker." And he doesn't say anything, but all of a sudden his dog starts saying, "Licky Kinkly Collie Molly Dingo Dingo." And it is like this exchange between his dog and the wind, and it gets to the point of where it gets so loud that the fire goes out, or actually doesn't go out, but a head falls down, and it rolls, and it rolls, and rolls towards the dog. The dog looks at it, and it dies of fright, and then the head turns to the boy and looks at him.
And then what happened?
The head obviously says, "Turn to your friend and scream."
That is some good shit right there.
See, I like that they
fun.
added that. Like, you have to do this. Like, there's the one where you talk about, like, you close your friend's eyes and you have, like, the bowls of food.
Yes, I used to love doing that.
Like, I remember doing that as a kid, and just this, how, like, there's, like, a simple,
like, you get, like, the noodles, and you're like, this is someone's brains.
Oh, yeah, and then there's the eyes, it's the grapes.
Yeah, peeled grapes for the eyeballs.
The one that I didn't get is, this is someone's liver, and you actually use raw liver.
You actually use a human being's liver that you stole.
See, that would be like a really funny short of, like, they actually think, oh, it's the bowls of food and stuff. It's actually, you're actually touching a dead body.
No, it's like you're putting your friend's hand in a bowl, and you're like, you're touching peeled grapes, and they open their eyes, and it's eyeballs.
Oh, that's so good. But yeah, no, that one's just, that scary story is horrific just because you just think of the head rolling down. And again, very light on the description. Your mind does all the work.
Yeah.
And it's horrific.
And a lot of this is like, because it is meant to be read out loud, I think a lot of it is in like the delivery. So like, you can add so much to these stories by just reading them in a really like over dramatic way.
Like, I listened to, actually on YouTube, I couldn't find the audiobook on Audible, otherwise I would have bought it, but there was one that I guess they produced in like the 80s, and the guy that reads it is fantastic, and it is super 80s. Like, there is synth music, there is it's the greatest thing in the world. And
good.
He reads a bunch of these stories, and he did one for the head, and it is really good. Like, oh my god, is it really good? And it's also, the guy's like in a very like super British accent, so it's like he's almost like, I would love to see like Christopher Lee, if God rest his soul, if you would have read that.
Blow a kiss up to heaven for Christopher Lee.
Goodbye, Count Dooku.
Goodbye, Dracula.
Goodbye, Saruman. And then my other favorite story in this is A New Horse, which is just one of the crazy, it's like almost like Kafka-esque.
Yeah, that one is very similar to,
Metamorphosis.
That one's very similar to A Country Doctor in a lot of ways.
So the story of this is these two guys, they live in a farm.
But then, I gotta say, the picture for this one is so funny.
Oh, I love it. It's like, what's the best way? I think the best way to put it is there's like a Tumblr post, like, I'm really good at drawing heads, and then they have like the little body.
Yes. It also reminds me of the Polish Ghostbusters poster.
Wait, what?
Have you seen the... Oh, I gotta show this to you right now.
What is that?
I know, right?
How is this Ghostbusters?
Because he's wearing a proton pack. and the Zool building on both of his eyes.
Oh my god. I'm gonna tweet this later on. It is gold.
Please, it's my favorite picture on the whole internet. That was my phone lock screen for like 3 years.
But I love the picture of the horse just because it's like a really derpy horse.
It is. It's the dopiest looking horse. You can imagine it sounding like this. Oh, hi, I'm a horse. Do you have some carrots for me?
The best way to put this horse is like, Meg, you did so much effort on the head, and then you decided, I'm just gonna give it like a pug body.
Yeah, and it's wearing a high-heeled shoe on one of its feet.
It's because it's pretty.
It's one leg. It's the sexy horse leg.
It's shaved. No, Meg. Obviously, it shaved that one leg, and it's like, want to feel?
Yeah, it just shaved one leg because it was too lazy.
Because the other side had leggings on.
Yeah. So, tell us the story of the derp horse.
That's new. That's the new name of the story, the derp horse.
Yes.
So, there's these two farmers. They live in the house together, and one of the farmers sleeps by the door, and every day he's really tired. So his friend's like, "Hey, John, why are you so tired?" And like, well, with a straight face in my brain, he's like, "Well, every night a woman comes to the house and she turns me into a horse and rides me all along the countryside." And his friend's like,
people used to claim that witches did that.
"Really?"
Which is wild to me. Like, in Salem times, they would be like, this witch came into my room through the keyhole, and then she turned me into a horse and made me ride everywhere and stomp on all of the corn plants or whatever.
Yep, and then we ate all the bread that had pretty much LSD in it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that. That's an interesting fact I didn't know.
Yeah, I went to Colonial Williamsburg last March, and I went to a mock witch trial, which was really fun.
Well, did they burn anyone?
No.
Oh.
They didn't actually burn witches in Salem. They hung most of them.
Or did the rock test?
Yeah.
So his friend's like, "Oh, I'll sleep downstairs tonight. You get some good sleep." So that night, as the guy's sleeping, a witch comes and turns him into a horse. So they ride around the countryside until they get to a really awesome house, which is having a really bitchin' party. And she's like, goes inside, and the guy somehow turns back into a man, and he takes, like, what is it? What's it called? The thing that horses have?
A bridle.
He takes the bridle and goes over to the witch and puts the bridle on her, and she turns into a horse because he says the magic words. And he rides around the countryside, but he decides, hey, I'm going to get some new horseshoes. So he goes to a blacksmith at like 3 a.m, and the guy's like, fine. And puts on the horseshoes, and he takes the horse to the witch's husband, and he's like, hey, my horse is kind of old and crummy. Would you be interested in trading it for a new horse? And the guy's like, yeah, sure. So this guy gets a sweet deal of a new horse, and the next day the husband of the witch comes downstairs, and he sees his wife. She is turned back into a human, but she has horseshoes nailed to her feet and arms.
That's really, like, kind of metal when you think about it.
Yeah, I think this whole story is it's comedic, but it's also horrific.
Which is, I think, a lot of stories for kids that are supposed to be scary are like that.
Other than that, my other favorite one, which I think I've heard the story before. May correct me if I'm wrong. It's My Big Toe. Isn't that like
yes, like the hairy toe.
The hairy toe. Thank you. Is it supposed to be like a playoff of the Taily Po?
They are very similar to each other. It's a similar legend, and I think there are like variations on it from country to country.
Okay, because that's what I thought it was. Because the big toe, the Taily Po.
Sometimes I've heard the 3 versions of the story that I've heard are the Taily Po, the big toe, the Taily Po, the hairy toe, and Granddad's liver.
Huh. So it's actually, I think, out of all of them, this is the most horrific of the stories because it's actually the story that opens up the book.
Yeah.
And it's about this kid. He finds a toe. He in the garden. He takes it. He cuts it up, puts it in a stew, and his whole family eats it. And that night, he hears, "You got my toe." And this kid's freaking out. And he, like, making noise. And he's just saying how he's going to eat the kid. He's going to swallow you whole and chomp your bones. And as he says that, you're supposed to pounce on the first person you see in your friends.
Yeah. Yeah. All of these stories are just really fun, and I hope this book never goes out of print.
Well, they just re-released it this year. They just reprinted them, and I think they had the
Good.
original illustrations again. They replaced them. Like, I can't wait to see what Guillermo del Toro does with this, because he's apparently supposed to helm this project. And, you know, he's going to get, hopefully he wins that Oscar for The Shape of Water. What other stories did you like?
I liked The Viper. I liked High Beams. That one's a classic.
Or why don't you tell us about High Beams, because I don't think we talked about that once.
Okay, High Beams probably has my favorite illustration of all of them. High Beams is like the classic urban legend of the woman driving alone on a dark road at night, and a truck is behind her flashing the high beams, and so she pulls over, and the truck driver says, "There was somebody in the back seat of your car, and so I was flashing the high beams because he was trying to stab you, and every time I flashed the high beams, he would duck back down."
See, how much of, like, an amazing movie that would be.
That's a classic scary story. That's one of the ones that I swear everybody would know, even if you hadn't read this book, because it's just very ingrained into culture.
Actually, I think my second favorite story in this is actually The Girl Who Stood on a Grave, which I think is actually more famous, because it's about the urban legend, if you stand on a grave, the corpse will come out and grab you.
But it's not. She got her dress snagged on a tree branch or something, and she died of fright.
Yeah, except in this story, she actually has a spoon, so she's gonna dig a little of the dirt and take it with her, but she stabs it into her dress. So when she tries to leave, it gets stuck on her, and she dies of fright. And I love the illustration for this. It is horrific.
Yeah, this is the screaming woman.
Like, there's so many great, like, so much of, like, zeitgeist and, like, looking at tales from around the world. Like, I mean, fear is, like, the most primal thing that we have. I think everyone can relate with. So, like, really tapping into this. Yeah. I can see why many...
I've got to talk about the illustration for High Beams, because I love it so much. It's because it's got, like, the greatest contrast between dark and light in all of the illustrations. There are these, like, huge blobs of black, and then these huge blobs of, like, bright white, and it really looks like there's, like, high beams. You know, it gives you the feeling of that washed out, like, you know, high beams. And you can really only see a little bit of the woman's face and her hands on the steering wheel, and then you see the lights in her rearview window. And it's very simplistic, but the Stephen Gamel's illustrations are like a Rorschach test. You look at them, and, like, whatever you think is the scariest is, like, what you put into it.
Yeah, no, I think because, you know, your mind is all the filling in. Like I said earlier, it's very, like, uncanny valley, and your brain just knows there's something wrong with this, and your brain's trying to, like, correct it in a way where you see, like, these vague shapes or even scarier images throughout it, because it's like a Rorschach's painting.
So, I think that's all I wanted to talk about.
Oh yeah, there's so many other ones. There's actually 2 other books. Unfortunately, you know, Alvin Schwartz, the guy that wrote them, he actually he died in about the 90s. I would have loved to have seen more of these.
Blows a kiss up to heaven for Alvin Schwartz.
He was actually really old. He was born in 1922.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize he was that old.
He was really...
He had a good long life. He had a good long life.
So we have a listener question for this week, and it was, what story from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark scared you the most, and did you take any precautions afterwards? So from Relic, the one about the dog summoning the disembodied head that falls down the chimney flue and screams. As a kid, I slept out in the living room in front of, you guessed it, the fireplace. Our house was in the middle of a forest.
Well, wow.
Oh my, no.
No, why would you?
That is where, like, your dad, like, this is like, almost like Gremlins, like, you know, Christmas.
Yeah.
So from Energy, I can't pronounce that, I'm so sorry. That's a different choice. A few I remember since when we were based on the urban legends Hook, High Beams, and Babysitter, but the drum was definitely one that spooked me. For some reason, my parents leaving me and being replaced by a scary stranger didn't seem that far-fetched to a kid me. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like, isn't there like a fear? I remember you bringing it up in one of your podcasts about...
Capgras delusion.
Tapgrass, yeah, the one about they thought that everyone's like a robot.
Yeah, where everybo's been replaced by imposters. It's basically a fear that everyone in your life has been replaced by an imposter or an imitation of some sort.
Oh my god, that is scary. So from Farley Neal, I grew up across the street from a church with a big parking lot. I woke up in the middle of the night in middle school and got some water. As I looked out the window, I saw this figure crawling towards my house from the parking lot. Immediately, my blood ran cold. I could only think of the story, The Thing. The one where the guy sees his own corpse coming at him. I was literally shaking. This was at 2 or 3 in the morning. Anticlimactic end. It was a young punk who was skateboarding, fell down, and had hurt himself. His friends came along to help him up and snapped me out of it. I'll never forget that irrational fear that seized me through.
It's a better story if you don't mention that. If you just let it be a ghost.
Ooh, it's a ghost. Or Doug Jones in Crimson Peak.
Oh yeah, that's right. There was the ghost that like drags itself across the floor. That was so creepy.
From Eric Space Captain Zemo, window. When I was a kid and I was scared in bed, I would peer out the window to make sure there wasn't anything out there trying to get me. Having the main character come face to face with the creature freaked me the hell out. Wow, these are all amazing, creepy stories, guys.
They are. They're great.
So one cool thing that I found out while we were doing this episode and asking people is actually there's going to be a Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark documentary coming out, hopefully this summer.
Nice!
So it's called Scary Stories Doc, and it's actually going to be a super interesting thing. There's some trailers up. Hopefully they're actually finished. The whole thing's edited. They just need a distributor. So we should hopefully be hearing from that soon, and I'm excited. They actually have... the guy was talking to me. I asked him some questions, and they have famous children horror author R.L. Stein's going to be in it.
Ah, yes!
So...
our good friend Jovial Bob.
Yes, he's a good friend of ours, if we had him on the show.
Speaking of which, do you have a joke for us this week, Zach?
Oh, yes, I do. Are you ready, Meg?
I'm always ready.
How do you say vampire in Spanish?
How, Zach?
Vampire in Spanish.
Oh, man. That is a dad joke if I ever heard one. Like, anybody listening to this, did your dad, did you ever have this experience of, driving through a field, you see some cows, and you're like, and one of your parents is like, look at that flock of cows. And then you go, it's a herd of cows. And then whichever parent, let's be honest, usually the dad goes, of course I've heard of cows. I'm trying to think of what the other was. Well, the other great ones. Well,
Dad, I'm hungry. Hi, hungry. I'm Dad.
My brother-in-law has one of the worst dad jokes I've ever heard in my life. It's I have a friend who's half Indian. What's his name?
What?
Ian.
Oh.
Get
That's
it?
That's awful.
It's half of the word Indian.
Oh my god. So Meg, guess what book we're reading next week?
What book are we reading next week?
I don't know. I think you're going to love this one because we're actually going to be visiting our really good friend, Carly Beth.
Yes! We're finally here!
We're finally getting to the part where Goosebumps gets balls to the wall insane.
Yes.
So we're going to be reading The Haunted Mask.
The immortal classic!
This is a story that I've been so excited to read. The Goosebumps episodes are some of my favorite things in the world. I just can always remember them because it is horrific.
Yeah, this is one of the better ones. The Haunted Mask is one of the better ones. Next to Be Careful What You Wish For and Werewolf Skin, This is probably one of the ones I'm most excited about reading.
I'm so excited about it. And guess what, Meg? After that is Be Careful What We Wish For.
Yes! 2 more weeks until my absolute favorite Goosebumps book of all time.
I gotta wait so long for mine.
What's yours?
The Cuckoo Clock of Doom.
Oh, how have I forgotten that about you?
That... I'm so excited. I'm so excited that we're reading The Haunted Mask. This is actually the Terror Twins' favorite book.
Oh, wow. So, Terror Twins, give us some thoughts.
I'd love to hear from you guys about this book. So, Meg, where can they find you?
You can find me online at Meg Tuden on Twitter. That's MEGTUTEN. You can also find me at sodasodabanana.tumblr.com. And I have a Redbubble store where you can buy Nightmare on Fear Street merchandise. We have the Nightmare on Fear Street green design, the Nightmare on Fear Street pink design. We have the Bigfoot Capoeira Time t-shirt, and we have the Vampire Blood Melts Steel Beams t-shirt as well. And you can find my Redbubble store at redbubble.com/people/Megan Tuden. That's MEGHANTUTEN. I actually just got my Nightmare on Fear Street mug today.
Did you?
I bought one for myself. I did. Have you bought one yet?
Gonna caffeinate yourself before you scare yourself. Actually, I'm gonna be getting one soon, because if my job transfer gets through, I can actually have some disposable income. The first thing I'm doing is I'm gonna buy that pencil skirt.
You're a fashion icon. Have I ever told you that?
Thanks, fam.
So where can they find you online, Zach?
You can find me on Twitter at Suda41, that's SUDA41. If you want to follow the show, you can follow us at Night Fear Street. If you want to follow our Facebook, Twitter, and any of the other places, just type in Nightmare on Fear Street, and most likely we'll pop up. If you want to donate to our show on Patreon, we're going to be having some more bonus content coming up very, very soon. You can follow us on Patreon /Nightmare on Fear Street. If you want to email the show, send us mini reviews. We would love to do like a mini review episode where you guys write in and we talk about it, and we can listen to like your mini reviews for the books we've covered. You can follow us on Nightmare on Fear Street at gmail.com. Well, Meg, I think that's it for the show.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's a bloody hook! Ah! Well, I'm horribly bleeding, and I'm still Zach.
I'm Meg, and Manhook Handcar Door.
Oh no. Well, stay
spooky.
Bye.
Bye.